And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet So Hail, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 4, Face the Strange. Marcelo, we're in a time cycle. We're jumping through all our past episodes of Starfleet So Hail.
Yeah.
Woo, 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 woo,
Woo,
woo,
woo,
woo.
woo, woo.
How are you? Nice to see
I'm
you.
I'm good. I'm good. It's it's great to be back here on the old channel talking some Star Trek. It's great to be back.
Thank you for doing this. Audience, I just want to say sorry we're not live. We're recording, but someone might be in the chat. I'm likely right now at a doctor's appointment while this is airing, so I don't know if
Oof.
I'll be in the chat, but you never know because those wait times are they can be pretty long at the doctor's office. So I might be hanging out in the chat. If I'm not, I apologize. I know Marcelo will not be hanging out in the chat because Marcelo doesn't
Yeah.
do that.
I
So
I don't do that.
we'll see if we can get one of our other Trek friends to come and hang out in the chat. But if not, hello to anyone who's there. I suspect maybe Jill will be there. She really liked this episode as far as I could see from X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And perhaps Joel might be there if he's not working. So hello to you guys. Maybe Cake's there. Hi, Cake. Uh, and some new folks. If you're new and you're watching this, hello to you too. We usually have a pretty lively chat. So some of our folks are moderators, and you can ask them questions about the show and what we do. But just as a matter of course, and a little bit of housekeeping. Later on today, even though we're recording this tonight, but later on today at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to continue our TQIF celebration, which, by the way, this is part of TQIF stands for Thank Q. It's Friday. Uh,
Still the best thing
so
ever.
we'll be
I don't
doing
know.
the
I
next
don't know how
episode
you
of
guys
Lower
come up with
Decks.
that.
I don't know. I just thought Q. I just thought it was funny,
Oh, you did.
because
I thought
yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure
thought I thought it was
Father
all
says
fun.
I came up with it. I don't
Yeah.
remember if it was me, but I'm pretty sure it was me. I think
Yeah.
if you follow the TQIF hashtag, I might be the first
To use it.
tweeter on that one. I'm not sure. I gotta go back and check. But I'll be talking with Trek on the Tube about the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks season 5. Well, not the latest episode. Sorry, the latest episode that we're going to be talking about, which memory does not serve me well tonight. I can't remember the title, so when Marcelo talks, I'll look it up real quick, or someone post it in the chat, please, or I might
Yeah.
post it in the chat. What's that?
No, this episode was a whole lot of fun because I didn't
I
know
didn't
anything
start this
about.
episode yet.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's
No,
fine.
sorry. One more housekeeping thing. Then at night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, check out Text Track. They're gonna do a deep dive of this episode that Marcel's dying to talk about.
Can't
Face the
wait. This is
Strange.
so good.
And then we're very likely doing an After Dark show after Text Trek on the After Dark channel. And then this Saturday, we're so excited. We're going to start a new discussion series of a Star Trek show. We've already completed Star Trek the original series. We've completed Star Trek the animated series discussions as episode by episode. And we've completed Star Trek the Next Generation discussions. So, where are we going next? Deep Space Nine. That's right. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, starting with Emissary. So come and join us for that Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, Marcelo, now we can get into this episode. But first, we got to do an episode summary. Would you like me to do it, or would you like to take it on?
Can you do it this time, Cap?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So basically, we start off with Maul and Locke in some shady dealings where they, they're trying to get this Krenim chronophage, which, by the way, the Krenim are a reference to Star Trek Voyager: Year of Hell. That was the the actor who plays the president of the Federation in Star Trek Six, and he's been in a lot of Star Trek. I can't remember his name right now, but anyways, so the Krenim were the species that he was a part of, and anyway, so they invented this. They have this thing called a Krenim chronophage, which Maul and Locke are after, and they give this guy who's also a returning um, uh, Star Trek species, which I can't remember their name either. Wow, we're the worst podcast for facts and Easter eggs. But you know what? If you want Easter eggs, go check out your
Go to
Hildebrand's,
fathers for that.
or yeah,
That's
or
not
tonight
us.
on the deep on the deep
That
dive.
is
We're
not
casual,
us.
and did I mention we're casual and informal? So,
No,
so
no, I think you forgot that part.
also, I've been having a little bit of this red directive over here, Marcelo. That's what
Is
I
that from
start calling wine from now on, the red
yeah, yeah, is
directive.
that yeah. Is that from Chateau Picard or some regular one?
It is in fact Chateau Picard. Very good.
Damn, I'm good.
I mean, I don't have that
Damn,
many
I'm good.
bottles of I just call everything Chateau Picard now at this point. So
Oh,
whatever, it's like it's not really Chateau Picard. But anyways, they give this guy latinum that's laced with a kind of poison which he was selling to the Emerald Chain to poison their slaves or prisoners. And so it's kind of like a revenge sort of for Maul. Um, dude dies, Maul and Locke make out, and we're left wondering, are these guys good guys, bad guys, unfortunate guys? What's going on exactly over here? Um, Anyways, back on the Discovery, we arrive at the coordinates from Janal's piece of the puzzle of the progenitor device, and there seems to be nothing there. So, that's when Gen Reese proposes that if he were Mollenlock, that he'd be hiding out and watching what Discovery does to get, to see if they can get the clue. And that's when Rayner's like, let's not, what does he say exactly? He says, stick to what we know, not what we guess. And then, Michael's like, I need to see you in my ready room to kind of like dress him down. But as soon as they transport into the ready room, some weird stuff starts happening. Oh, I forgot to mention this little tiny silver surfer liquid metal spider that was the chronophage, which was planted on Adira, is roaming around the ship at this point, and it finally gets to engineering and plants itself on like a power unit, and then starts creating havoc. And so that havoc is in the form of these time cycles where um, Disco is basically jumping around time. Now, normally, Michael and oh, here comes your coffee.
yeah, that's good. I'll
I'll
let him
keep
make
talking.
it big.
Yay! Hi there.
He
So
can't hear you.
normally Michael would, Michael and Rainer would be caught in it, but they just
Take
happen
him
to
off.
be transporting at the
Sorry, everybody.
same time. No, you're fine. This is casual. It's like what I said. So they just happen to be transporting at the same time, which causes them to actually be caught in a slightly different kind of loop. They're immune to the cycles, and so they're aware that they're being kind of thrown around through time. And Michael guesses that Stamets would also be immune to the effects because of his tardigrade DNA. And of course, she's right, because we saw that happen in the first season when Mud came aboard and started using the time crystals to create havoc with time and create a time loop. Anyhow, the three of them start to try to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, we're jumping around all throughout time. We see the Discovery being built. We see the battle of control. We see a future 30 years into the future where the Federation is destroyed by the Breen, it looks like. um, we see uh, we see them go back to a time when Arium was still alive. There's one more, I think. There was
You're
another.
forgetting the best part. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, of course.
Michael on Michael.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
not
no, but
hurt you
that's yeah,
guys.
yeah. Michael sees Michael. Like there's all
Yeah,
kinds of shenanigans, temporal shenanigans going on and stuff like
yeah,
that. But finally, they figure out with Stamets' help that they can defeat the chronophage by going to maximum warp,
of course.
then breaking the bubble, the warp bubble. Then, as they're coasting out of warp speed, they have to use this thing to capture the chronophage, and they do it. They succeed, but not without a lot of hardship and not without a few great moments. One of which is Michael talking to the crew when she was still a mutineer, but now she's a captain and convincing them to help her. Another is mutineer Burnham being kind of convinced by Rayner in a great scene as well, to let them complete their mission. And when they
Yeah,
get back to the future or wherever, depending on your perspective, uh, they have a good laugh. And the most important thing is that Rayner has learned a lesson through all of this, which is that it's not a bad thing to be familiar with your crew, because sometimes knowing them really well and being friends with them can save your life. And that was pretty evident in the fact that Burnham and Rayner were both able to use knowledge of the crew to kind of complete the mission. And yeah, did I cover everything? I feel like I covered everything, but I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah. I think you covered everything really, really well. One thing though, I wouldn't call Rainer learning a lesson at the end of this episode. What I would say is, I think Rainer got more comfortable with the Discovery crew, and he learned how they like to do things, how they like to operate. Because I do think that in his core, Rayner is a good individual, but I think that, like I said in our last review, if any of you watched that, I think that he needed time to adjust to this, to his new normal of not being the one in the chair and taking the orders from the actual person or the actual woman in the chair. And I think that this episode really showed that he is actually able to fit into a crew where he's not in command. But that's just the way I see it.
That's pretty cool. I think that's fair, but you know, Rayner was pretty stubborn, as he mentions,
Uh,
and I think that he also had this philosophy of professional distance, you know, not getting close. And
right.
I think he
Hmm.
realized that maybe that he can meet Burnham in the middle, and they can like do it
Right.
after all. But let's uh let's get to our the meat and potatoes, if you will.
Oh,
Uh,
slides.
yeah, we got slides this time, Marcelo. I
Cool.
was able to do the slides. So what did you think of the scene, the opener, the shady dealings and the time bug and poisoning this guy?
Yeah, I really like this scene because it shows that Locke and Maul, they don't play. And they are very, very serious in their quest. I don't know if I don't know if what they've told the audience in that, oh, the only reason that they want this thing is because they want to get financial gain. I think that's a load of hooey. And I think that Locke, the green guy over here, is sick, and that's the real reason
Mm.
why they're after it. Because I think that one of them needs it for a very specific reason. And I also like this. I also like this scene because it basically tells the audience that Locke and Maul are are people of their word, that once they sign a deal, they expect that deal to be honored. And if that deal is not honored, they might just kill you like they did to this unfortunate gentleman there.
Oh, jeez. I
Um,
mean, I definitely get there's like a Bonnie and Clyde type of thing going on here, but there's seems like there might be a little bit of a, you know, something. I agree with you. There might be something going on that's a little deeper as to why they need the progenitor device, but I don't get the
yeah,
impression that Locke is ill, but that could be a
Bill.
thing. Like, yeah, I don't think he's sick, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Um, hopefully soon.
And the other theory that's going on, that's been floating around the web that's been floating around the interwebs since these two couple have come on the scene is that they're siblings of some kind. And like this scene just sort of just sort
Wait,
of
siblings
uh
like that make out?
no, but hold up.
Okay,
This scene,
I get it.
yeah, this
I
scene,
mean,
this
not
scene.
to judge other aliens' moralities, but it just seems like it's kind of a universal thing that siblings
No,
would make
no,
out. But go, carry on,
no, but
carry on.
no. But what I'm trying to say is that when I heard that rumor floating around subspace since these two hit the scene, I was like, "There's no way that these two people are siblings." And I'm happy to say that this scene
That
really
this was
confirmed it
confirmed.
because in this scene, like our fearless leader has up here, these two people suck face, and it's like you don't do that if you're with your sister or like you don't do that. That's something
I
you
mean,
don't
Luke
do.
Skywalker did it, but he didn't know that it was his
Right,
sister.
right, right, right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. But let's just say Luke was the exception to the rule.
Do you think we'll see uh flashbacks that show uh her father, the Booker, the
It
previous
is
Booker, Cleveland Booker?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is extremely possible because I do believe, like I said last week, that something is going to happen in the weeks to come to make Maul want to do an about face and for some reason
Mm.
join Michael's crew. And I do think that that is going to be I do think that that is going to be the breaking point between Maul and Locke to where they break up and they go their separate ways after the treasure. I do think that something is going to happen to break them up.
How do we feel about this guy who they're meeting with, and how do we feel about him kind of
Getting killed?
getting killed? Yeah. What does that say
I
about
don't care.
Malak to you? You're
I
like,
don't care. I
he's a
don't
bad
care.
guy. He's a
These
nasty
guys,
guy, right?
first of all, this guy is dealing with criminals. So to put himself in that kind of danger, that's on him. And second of all, like I just said a couple minutes ago, Maul and Locke seem to be very honorable very honorable criminals. And if you make a deal with them, you better make sure that that deal is by the letter. If it is not, then what happens next is on you. And the fact that they killed this guy by using the same concoction that was used against
Maul. Yeah.
Maul's people is just great. It's a really interesting twist of psychotic irony. That's great.
Psychotic
And
irony. Psychotic
yeah,
po is it poetic justice or is it
yeah.
wrong? Yeah, I guess so.
No. It's poetic
She
justice.
She does say something like, "We'll be free," so it gives me the
Yeah,
impression that they're still being
yeah,
oppressed in some way. They're not exactly like, in a previous
yeah,
episode, Book was like they're, like, in love and they're running, you know but this is the first time we see that, like, she's like, "We'll be free." They wanna go off to some place and where they can be safe, I guess, or free, so it's
yeah,
interesting, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I'm not buying that crap at all. I think that that is a smoke ring, but I would just say to finish my point, I couldn't give
Mhm.
2 squirts of you know what that they killed that poor guy. I don't care. That guy that guy is an arms dealer. I don't care.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He's a bad guy, but I don't know
Yeah,
if
he's a bad
anyone
guy.
deserves to be killed. But anyways, um, in this next scene, we see that Adira is kind of accepting, but also kind of lamenting, maybe about the decision to just be friends with Gray, and then the little spider, the little chronophage spider, jumps off of her, clothing, their clothing, and starts going around the ship, and there's a shot of it there. What did you think of the scene between Rayner and Reese here? Where how how did you feel about, like, that whole moment there, where where basically, and then I love this next shot of Michael's face when she's
How dare
like,
you?
yeah,
This
how
is
dare
my
you?
she reminded me of Carol. She reminded me of Carol in that one episode of Lower Decks
Carol
where
Freeman.
Yeah, Carol, guys, as you know, if you've been watching my streams for a while, I call Star Trek characters by their first names. So that's why
That's
it's.
right. You do that, producers and directors and
Yeah,
all
that's
sorts
right.
of
I'm a weirdo.
yeah, like sometimes I have to ask you like which Alex are you talking
Who are you talking about? Our Lord and Savior, Alice Kurtzman. No. But I really liked this, and if we could back up just a second to the previous slide, just for 1 second,
Sure.
I really like this because it it tells me that that Captain Rayner isn't adjusted to his new surroundings yet, and he still believes that he can assert some authoritorial weight on Discovery, that he can form the crew into the type of command that he's used to. But I really like that Reese and some other folks on the bridge tell him that this is not the way that we do things here, and you need to back up. And I really like the moment where Michael pulls rank and says, "We need to have a conversation," and she basically tells him that, and in a nice way, you need to fall in line, because if you don't fall in line, then how are we going to do what we have to do? And
Well, and
I
then
really, right.
she even tells him like on my ship I like she kind of lays it out for him and says like, here on my ship I like people to feel like they can speak freely. And then he that's when he kind of goes over the line. He says, "Well, speaking freely," and then he kind of gives her
Yeah.
his
An
what,
apology.
no, well, at first he gets out of line and he's like, "Spare me your bullshit about this or that or whatever," when she's trying to tell him, when she's trying to kind of like help him out and say like, what does she say to him? You're like in flux right now, and
Yeah,
then,
and flex. Yeah.
but I did like that Rainer admitted that he went over the line and that he
Yeah.
actually apologized. He wasn't stubborn about that, and he felt bad. You could tell in that scene that he definitely felt bad. But here's where the time jumps get started. And the first
Mhm.
place we go to, interestingly enough, is the wormhole, another time jump in Discovery's
That
history where they
that
jump
was
900 years.
that was really cool. You know,
Yeah, and Burnham mentions that the transporter badges weren't working, and I thought that was interesting because it made me wonder if, like, the transporter badges work on some kind of, like, universal signal that the ship generates or, like, cell
I
phone towers, that are generated around, like, wherever wherever you're able to
I
use the transporters and stuff like that. That was interesting.
I think it's a universal signal that's in the future. That
What did you
that's in
Oh,
that
go ahead.
that's in their future. And if they go outside that future, whatever reason, like they did in this episode, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, exactly. They're like it's before they get to the 32nd century. But I like that we saw this moment
I was
first.
yeah,
What
I
were
was
you
losing my
thinking
mind.
when you first saw the time jump? Like what were you like what was your initial reaction to this?
My initial reaction to this was no goddamn way. They're not doing this. I'm like, oh my god, they're doing this. I got so excited. And when I realized what this was, it took me a minute. I was like, oh my god. They're time traveling to the moment where Michael took the Discovery to the future. I absolutely love this entire episode. Sohail knows this. I love this episode to bloody bits. So the fact that that uh not this episode that we're talking about now, but the episode that they jump back to first. Um because of
Oh, you
be-
like this episode, the episode where they're coming to the future, right?
yeah. And I thought it was a great way to surprise the audience, and I really liked the way that they took some time to reorient themselves, and they took some time to figure out where they actually were. They didn't spell it out right away. They gave the audience some time to figure it out for themselves, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I was really like kind of like I kind of knew when they were like I was like, "Oh, why are they on the ground?" And then when I saw the red angel, I was like, "Oh, this is that scene." And I love that like when they got off the bridge, that's when like Saru and everyone comes to. So they were not the wiser of it. And I think my favorite time jump moment was this moment because I just
Pretty
love
cool.
the idea that they went all the way back to the literal beginning when Discovery's being built. I also really like that this is, I think, the first time in the Prime timeline that we're seeing that uh, starships of this era were built on land.
On land.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, it was mentioned apparently, we were watching the animated series, The Counterclock Incident, and Commodore April in that episode mentions that the ship was built at the San Francisco naval yards, and so that's kind of cool that that's where the Discovery was also built, and many other ships probably are built. And just like in Star Trek 2009, they're built on land and then they're launched into space, which is pretty cool. Talk
Yeah.
about that for a moment. Your thoughts while I go get tissue to blow my nose because my allergies are killing me.
Yeah, I really really love this moment because at this point in time when I was watching this moment, unfold before our eyes, I'm thinking, who's the captain of this? Who is the slated captain of the Discovery at this time? And like, I wonder who they're going to run into. I wanted to see like if they were going to run into some cameos that we of individuals that we've seen before on the show, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But this was a really nice moment, um, for all the reasons that Sohail said of actually seeing spaceships, of actually seeing Starfleet ships that are actually built on land.
Yeah.
For some reason, at least I think there's been this false sense of there's been this false idea that all starships have to be built in space, and I'm like, building starships in space would be rather difficult. Like it would
No, I
it
think that's. I mean, I feel like from what we've seen in Star Trek, like the Enterprise A was refit at some point. They just started doing it in space, like and I think the D
right
was built inside of a space dock or something like that,
space dock, right?
but like in
Right,
space, you know.
right. But for me the romanticism of space travel in the future, it just works a lot better if the ship is built on actual physical land first, and
Mm.
then and then given given a like a cool ceremony and then shot up into space. For me, because I like the romantic side of Star Trek. So for me, ships built on land work a lot better.
Yeah, I think there's something romantic about that for sure. I mean, that moment in 2009 is pretty cool when
Oh,
Kirk,
so great.
sees sees the
So
Enterprise
great.
being built and stuff like that. But
So great.
yeah, I think to me personally, it doesn't really matter if it's like Earth or
Mhm.
space because they both make sense. In
Right.
fact, it might be easier to build ships in space just because everything kind of is weightless, right? So you can kind of easily maneuver parts and things like
That is
that.
true.
But
That is true.
without a lot of problems and stuff like that. But there's something to be said about about disco being built on the
In
ground. And
on land.
also, I unironically love that a starship can land. And well, if it
Yeah,
was
of
built
course.
on the ground, it means it can land.
Yeah, but also, but yeah, but also that always perplexed me when certain Star Trek fans would bring up, um, like would talk about the ship, and then I would often bring up, where are its landing struts? And then
No, they just
those,
like kind of. I think well, here it's probably sitting on some kind of like platform or something while they're building it. But
right?
I don't consider, like, landing necessarily, like, the ship touching ground. Like, landing to me is
Oh,
just, like, being close enough to the ground where you're, like,
oh,
hovering.
no, yeah, no,
Similar to how a cruise ship or a naval ship lands ashore, that they call
yeah,
it a landing. It's not
yeah,
really, like
landing,
it's not really coming out of the water, but it lands at a port,
yeah, but
if you will, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, but even on a cruise ship, you have an anchor.
Sure, and you could have the ship be so I think I saw an illustration or a painting where, the Enterprise was so close to the ground that they're able to open a hatch, and the hatch touches the ground, so they can,
Right,
like,
right,
walk
right,
out of the ship, if they want to,
right,
so yeah, who
right. But
knows?
again,
I don't
yeah,
know. It's a
yeah,
it's
but
a funny thing. Some people love it, some people hate it.
yeah, but again, with me, I've always been fascinated by sort of like the practicality that I think in my own head about how about how a starship should be and the things that should be on it from a practical
Right.
standpoint of view. And for me, landing struts have always been a practical thing. Like not to veer the conversation away from Discovery, but I love the episode
Voyager.
of Voyager where the ship actually lands on a planet.
Lands, yeah, and she has
That
struts. I'm
that
sure
she
Disco
has
has
struts.
struts too. I'm sure the Enterprise has struts. I'm sure they all have some struts
Yeah,
somewhere
but yeah, they don't need the
in
struts
there.
anyway.
We just haven't
Yeah.
seen them. The
Mhm.
battle for control is the next time jump, that we do, and we see the scene where Paul was injured, and I love this scene because it shows us that he's, like, kind of
Yeah.
aware as he is,
Yeah.
and he's, like, talking about stuff, and then Burnham and Raynor are trying to figure things out. Now, I was wondering, here in this one scene where they're talking about, like, the ship has these biometric, you know, can register their biometric readings or whatever, and then Burnham has a code that she uses. Oh, that's in the next scene, actually. I forgot I put these 2 graphics together, but Burnham has a code that she inputs into the, to kinda, like, nullify the biometrics. I don't know why. There's no reason because I don't think he gives off those vibes, but it's a little weird to me that Raynor like might be able to do something with this override code like later if he is in fact, but I don't think he's like a villain. But if he
Oh, wait a
decides to
minute.
betray,
Don't you
not that he's
dare
a
say
villain,
that.
but not that he's a villain, but what if he just decides to, because in this episode he said, "What if my way is better?" Right? He
Okay. Oh,
says that to
oh,
Michael. And so what
okay.
if he
Hold up.
decides to use this override code
Hold,
against Michael, not in like a villainous way, but like more in a way
hold
of
up.
like doing his having his way, if you will.
Are
But go ahead. Go
you?
ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting you there.
No,
Are
you're fine.
you? Are you suggesting that Rainer might do a mutiny at some point? No.
Maybe. I don't know. He might
No.
try it. No, I
Oh
don't
my
know. I don't
god.
know.
I did not. I
Just
did
some
not.
specu
I
just
did
some
not think
wild
about that.
speculation.
There's
Yeah, I
some
don't
juicy
know.
speculation there.
I don't know, like, that
Wow.
was a weird scene. I don't know, you should go back and watch that scene later and tell me
I
later on
should.
what you guys think. Or audience, tell us what you
I
guys think.
should.
Is Rainer sus, or do you trust him completely? Is he just, like, is he sus, or is he just, like, kind of, misunderstood, if you will?
I know. I would say that he's probably misunderstood, and I again I would say that the people that are giving him a hard time, and I'm saying that's not everybody, but the people that are giving him a hard time for his command style, I'm like, guys, you just got to give the guy a couple days or like a week, and he'll just get it, and he'll get the way that Discovery is run, and he'll get his place, and he'll get comfy. Um, but Rayner eventually doing a mutiny because something might happen where him and Michael don't see eye to eye is a very, very interesting twist and a very, very frightful concept.
So that
Um,
image capture is actually from a scene when they're at the battle with Osira, who's
right.
invading the ship.
Osira, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
get this nice moment where, after Raynor almost gets shot, but then
Burner has to run off.
Reno, well, no,
Yeah.
Reno comes and saves the day. Burnham has to kind of hide
Yeah.
from Reno. But I love that
Reno.
this time cycle is giving us kind of like, you know, like these reminding us of seasons past. Like we went
Yep.
to season 1, we went to season 2, season 3, season 4, like we're kind of hopping around all over the place, which is kind of cool.
You know where I would have loved to go, but I was reminded on Father Sheen tonight that that wouldn't have been possible because it was another ship. I would have loved to gone back to the pilot of the show, and I would have loved to gone
Well, we
back to
practically did because Specialist Burnham.
almost, yeah,
Oh yeah,
almost.
that was
She was
almost there.
there.
Yeah,
She was
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's true. But I know
But
what
yet,
you mean. Like, see, you
yeah,
wanted to see like
Oh yeah.
Giorgio, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I know you were wishing for that.
And Connor and
And
Kayla
Connor,
before she had
yeah.
the thing on her
Oh,
head.
that's right, that's right, that's
Um,
right. I forgot
yeah.
Detmer was on the, Shenzhou, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She was
That's right.
she was a pilot. Yeah,
That's right, that's
yeah.
right.
But I really love this scene because I think that they may be setting up something potentially happening with Rainer and and Tig. Oh well, that's not her name, but her name is
Reno,
Tignataro. Reno, thank
Commander
you.
Reno, yeah.
Commander Reno. So I really like the scene because it suggests that there might be something possibly going to happen with Commander Reno and Rainer. So it's just a really
You
cool
mean like
scene.
like a relationship, do you mean? Or just like
Well, no, I felt I felt something there. I think it's a little bit too late to do relationship garble in the final season of Discovery, but I felt something there.
hmm. I didn't
So
get that vibe at all, but that'll be interesting if that happens. What I did like about the scene that Reno
mm,
likes a drink that I'm very fond of, which is a Vesper Martini,
a
and she
Vesper
likes it
Martini.
ice cold, which is good. That's the
So
best way to have a martini is
the
ice
thing that
cold.
yeah, yeah, the thing that really sort of drove that point home for me that there might be something between these two is the fact that she asked him, "Hey, when we get out of this, get me a drink." Like,
Oh, I see. I think that's just Reno being Reno. I remember
mhm,
actually now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, like, there's no reason why she she can't be bisexual or whatever the future equivalent to
right,
many genders being into many genders is omni, I guess, or poly. But there's no reason why she can't be
polyamorous.
like that. Yeah. But
Yeah, well,
I
yeah.
remember clearly that Reno had a wife, so I thought maybe she leaned more
Oh yeah,
towards
that's
like
right. That's right.
yeah,
I
like
forgot about
digging.
that. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
But is her
But
wife
yeah,
alive?
like I said, it's I think I've always said that future people don't have as strict a definition on what their sexuality is, that they're more fluid. That's the word I was looking for, that they're more fluid
But
in the future just by default.
is her wife alive though?
No, she died. Remember, she was talking about grief with
Oh
Stamets.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we know had a tragic. Remember, she had a pretty tragic
Oh
backstory,
yeah.
I guess you could call it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll never forget the first time that we met Rena. She was doing surgery on that Retemption and she was using
On a
what
Tellarite, I think she was
the
doing
Tellarite,
surgery.
the
Yeah, yeah.
Tellarite, and she was using the space equivalent of jumper cables on his brain.
That's right. I forgot about that. She's great. I love this character.
Yeah,
I'm glad we
yeah,
got to see more of her in this episode. It was very cool.
um,
And now we go back to the future again, 30 years after they started this time cycling. And unfortunately, it's not looking too good because the Federation seems to be destroyed. Um, the Breen apparently got the progenitor weapon, and it looks like they dusted all the other life forms, or at least the Federation, because Discovery is like she said Zora says like you all died like 30 years ago. There's this like dust all over the ship, which only like usually that kind of like it's like dead matter, I guess, is what it could be. It might not just there shouldn't be any dust. So I imagine that's like people that are obliterated somehow or atomized or whatever. It's a pretty harrowing scene. I thought it was interesting to see Burnham to see Michael touch the chair, and then she was kind of like grossed out by it, and stuff like that. But what were your thoughts on this? And then, of course, the big question, I've heard so many folks talking about this. They think this is a reference by Zora asking Michael, is this another dream? They think that Calypso folks are saying that this is what answers Calypso, like that Calypso was all just a dream. And that's fair. I could see that happening. but something tells me that that's not quite the answer to Calypso. I think there's something else going on, and that we might get an explanation. I think we're supposed to get an explanation this season. If this is the explanation, personally, I'm fine with it, but I just kind of expect more. I don't want Calypso to just be a dream. What are your thoughts, Marcelo? And audience, let us know what you guys think as well.
I am one of those crazy people with the tinfoil hat on my head. I think that this is exactly Calypso. I believe this is my crazy this is my crazy theory here, folks. I believe that this season will end with a wedding, and then the credits will play, and then right before the credits are over, we'll get one scene of the discovery in space somewhere, and we will basically lead up to the beginning of Calypso. Now, if that happens, that doesn't negate anything that Michelle Paradise or the other writers would do. I just think that that would be a really really cool way to incorporate one of the finest Trek shows that they ever did. Um, um,
Well, there's a lot of hoops they have to kind of jump through to get us to Calypso,
yeah,
because in Calypso, the Discovery is the old configuration, not the refit
right, right.
configuration.
But I mean, look. For me as a like if I was in the writers room with Michelle and everybody, I would say, listen, we don't have to do the legwork to to make this last scene make sense. It's just a nice little tip. It's just a nice little Easter egg for those folks who actually watched our short treks, and we don't have to explain it because it's going to be a really really short mid credit end scene. And yeah, so I mean, I would just give it to him.
I don't know.
And I would
I mean,
look.
it would be fine. It would be fine. I
Yeah,
just kind of I think that, like, since Calypso starts not with the Discovery, but uh
what what
with the
what
character in
what's
this
his name?
shuttle pod, and he gets,
Yeah,
like, whatever. It seems like
yeah,
it's more from his perspective than from
right,
Zora's perspective, so that's what makes
no,
me wonder, is it
yeah,
really a dream?
yeah. But the other thing that I would do is just start the after credit scene in my crazy whacked out scenario. Just started with the discovery in space and just move the camera a little bit and show a small shuttle pod coming to the discovery, and that would be the guy, whatever his name was, and that's it. It's just like a short scene. I'm talking like maybe 10 seconds here, maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll have to wait till the season's over to find out truly what's
Yeah,
going on. But the
yeah,
it would be fine. I guess I'd be fine with
yeah.
it. I like this scene also because, well, a couple other interesting things. One, it's been 30 years since, like, the Federation was destroyed, and Federation HQ is still burning. That's kind of crazy. Like, that it's been burning for 30 years. That's kind of,
What kind of what kind
well,
of
there's kind
gas
of
do they have in the
yeah, exactly. What kind of
what kind
fuels or
of gas?
materials? Yeah, I guess the
Jesus,
programmable matter, maybe it just keeps trying to rebuild itself,
that
but
thing
it's
is
like the
hot,
damage that
man.
they did was
Hot,
so
man.
great. Yeah, who knows? But I also like this where kind of Michael is despairing when she sees the state of things, but then Raynor's like, "Well, you're probably one of the only people that started out as a mutineer or a prisoner and then became a captain of the same ship." And he's like, "How'd you do that?" And it kind of wakes Michael up and reminds her um that she does it by never giving up, right? So that's when they like, oh, this little cat here. Do you hear this scratching? My cat's trying to get my attention. I wonder what's going. It's 11. I see. That's why. Um, it's time for his treat. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I like that it kind of reminds Michael not to give up, and that's when, like, they come up with the kind of final piece of the puzzle to the formula of the time cycles, and Zora helps them figure out so they can predict when each jump is going to occur, and that they
Right.
know how long they're gonna be in each place. And so there's, like, a really nice moment of hopefulness in this where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is" like, it kind of you could tell it's building towards a finale the sorry, not the finale, but the, conclusion or the climax
Yeah.
of this episode, and it was done in a really great way. Uh
Yeah, I think yeah, when it reached the when it reached this point of the episode, at this point, when the writers were writing the script, at this point, this would be the tippy top of the story. This would be the tip top of the second act, and everything after this will be downhill going into the third act. Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Well,
Oh,
downhill, you mean, like,
yeah,
just, like
yeah,
it
yeah,
actually just keeps
downhill.
going up, I feel like. I feel like this episode makes it, like it
Yeah.
doesn't go down, like, in terms of vibe, it just keeps getting
No,
more
no, no, no,
escalated.
no, no, but no, but no, but no,
Yeah.
but yeah. When I say downhill, I don't mean it in a negative context. I'm talking about
Oh, gotcha.
downhill going into the third act of this episode. Just
Like a
re-
like a
yeah,
roller
it's like
coaster, like when you're
yeah, yeah,
rushing down right,
yeah.
I
That's
got it.
right. That's right.
Nice.
Because I do believe every other scene was essentially the story, ramping up to the top of the roller coaster, and at the tippy top is the end of the second act, and everything after this is going right into the third act, which is
So
everything you see
now
here.
in this next time jump, they determine they have to get something from Burnham's quarters because they need this kind of, like, fluid that's used for hollow projections and stuff like that, and, uh and then Stamets is gonna work on, this device or whatever, but,
Yeah,
then we see Book, and in this time, they're still together, they haven't broken up, and so she has to pretend like she's that version of Michael Burnham, and I thought this was, like, one of the most touching scenes, it gave me all the feels, but also at the same time, seeing David Ajala's, wonderful physique here, was also a very nice moment, and I felt like Michael like, how she was kind of, like, uncomfortable, but also interested, and I felt the same way. Not uncomfortable, but just, like, she had to keep her mind on the mission, but she could distracted is the word I guess I would wanted to use. But yeah, what did you think of all this? And I do like in this moment where she's, like, basically has a chance to say "I love you" to Book, which is cool because she's not saying it in the future.
yeah. For me, this scene was all about Michael actually trying to stay stable and stay reasonably normal. And I think that this scene really illustrated to me that Michael still believes in a potential future with Book, but she just doesn't necessarily know how to make it work in her own time. And this
Yeah.
scene, especially the end, when she pulls away from Book and he says, basically, I'll see you later. And then he says, I love you. And the way that Michael says, I love you back proves to me that she still believes in her and Book. And I do believe that although I've said in previous streams that I don't want them to get together, I do believe that that's where we're going. And it's going to happen at a wedding, people. I'm going to die on this. I'm going to die on that hill.
You're so
There
excited about
is
this. It's and
going
not
to
just any
be a
wedding,
wedding.
Marcel, it's Saru and Tarina's wedding, right? Is that, like,
Yes.
what we're right,
Yes.
like
I'm going to die on that hill.
that's funny.
It's gonna
I have a strong I've, like, my speculation is that you're correct. I don't know how it's
it's
gonna
gonna be a
happen,
wedding.
but I do think we're gonna have a wedding. I hope we
And
have a wedding this season. If we
and if
don't, I guess I
eh,
won't be
yeah,
disappointed too
yeah,
much, but
yeah,
I really think
yeah,
you're right.
if we don't, I'll be disappointed. But if we do have a wedding, it will be a great environment for these two to reconcile.
Yeah, it totally would. I
Yeah.
like this scene because, I like how Book's, like, talking to Michael about being a captain, and he's like, "You were made for this," and she's like, "But change is really difficult, and then he goes, but it's also the only way anything meaningful can happen,
Yeah.
and
Also,
that was a really good moment.
I really like that both of them, both of them, both of them are talking about things that are relevant to them, but
Mhm.
Michael is taking them in a completely different context than
Right.
book from this time period is talking about, because Michael is taking it from the point of view of the relationship that fell to pieces, and Book is still talking about a healthy relationship that he has with Michael up to this
Mhm.
point.
I included these shots of the chronophage and, like, them trying to, like, thwart it, but then it has a defense mechanism, which was really obvious to me. I knew it would have one, like, one.
Yeah, it's not going to be that easy.
But I like this design, the design of this this, like, behind this panel, and later on, I think it's the first time we see them going through Jeffrey's tubes, or maybe there was one with Owo. I think Owo went through a Jeffrey's tube in that one episode where she had to, like, because she could breathe longer, she was able to reset something, or I forget what
Have
that
we
episode was.
have we ever seen these? Have we ever seen the Discovery Group? No, Burnham went through Jeffrey's tubes.
Yeah, in this episode, but I don't remember her. Oh,
No,
you're right,
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah,
on the
yeah.
Glen, though. Wasn't that on the Glen, or was she?
No, 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 no. She's been through a couple. She's been through a
Yeah, you're
couple of
right.
Jeffrey's
Oh,
tubes on
yeah.
the
Oh, no, I
Discovery.
remember now. There's a Jeffries Tube fight in season
Yeah,
3. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you're
there
right.
is.
Sorry, my
Yeah,
bad.
no,
My bad, that's
yeah,
true. Well, these are not the Jeffries tubes, though, but I'm just talking about later we see her
right,
going through
right.
Jeffrey, but, like, more of the ladder kind where you climb up
Ladder.
through the. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah. More of a Captain Kirk deal going
true.
on to the Enterprise and complaining about how how Spock didn't get the ship ready in time.
So this is the final time jump where they get back to the Lorca era, if you will, season 1,
Oh,
and
I
we see
love
that
Linus
Linus
again.
has been there the whole time, which is kinda cool. Yeah, I love this scene so much. Uh, red is definitely your color. Like, it's like
It's so badass.
how did you feel
Yeah,
about going back to this era, and how did you feel about, like, seeing Ariam and, like, the Michael versus Michael, scenes and all that stuff?
yeah. Well, let me first take the emotional stuff out of the way. Let me address that first. As many of you know who have been lucky enough or have been unfortunate enough to hear me talk about Star Trek for a long time on different streams, I was never happy with the way that they handled Ariam's death. And seeing Ariam again really felt to me that the writers were giving me a personal apology letter, because hearing Ariam say that if she was in a life and death situation, she would sacrifice herself for her crewmates without any hesitation made me feel better about the choice that she has to face later on. Because I feel that in the moment when I was supposed to care about Ariam sacrificing herself for her crew, I didn't feel it because they didn't do enough character work with her to make me attached to that character enough. And I feel that in this episode, for in some weird way, they made me feel better about Ariam's decision,
Mm.
and 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 we got into more of her psychology and how she thinks. So so for that so for that reason, the scene between Ariam and Michael and everybody on the bridge was one of my highlights of the episode. But this scene in here between old Michael and current Michael
Old Michael
was
and current Michael, it's more
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
previous
old
Michael
Michael.
and current. It's
Yeah,
more like
yeah.
yeah, you're right, old Michael, I
Old
guess.
Michael and
It's more
old
like previous Michael and current Michael, right? Like, it's
yeah,
like
no, actually here no,
yeah.
I got one. I got one for you. Pain in the ass Michael and good Michael. No, 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 but this scene right here is the money shot for me because this scene was like so good. It was just so good.
Yeah, I like them fighting. It was really I can't wait to watch the
It
Ready
was
Room
one
and
done
see
well.
how they did it. I heard there's gonna be a feature or a
Yeah.
package, as they call them, I
No,
guess.
because I no, because I wondered, and it was speculated on Tech Trek tonight. How in the hell did they make Sonequa Martin Green look this young? And how in the hell did they make other folks look this young?
Well, Sonequa
Because
Martin Green doesn't look like much
right,
older than she did 7 years ago, but you're right, it is pretty
yeah,
impressive. They got the hairstyle down pat and
yeah,
just, like, the whole vibe of her,
right,
which credit to Sonequa Martin Green for doing
yeah,
s like, she could act like she could,
yeah,
act like that Burnham again, which is pretty cool, like and it was neat
yeah.
to see the way Burnham kind of has evolved and stuff like that. I pulled up this scene because I really love this scene too, where Paul's kind of having like a moment, and
Um,
Rainer does. Well, yeah, and then Rainer does this thing again. Where I like that he like, he's like a gruff kind of guy, but he does realize when he's wrong, and he's not afraid to. I like that
admit it,
aspect
admit it.
of him. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what does he say to him? Oh, uh, "You're not in any of this alone. What can I do to help right now?" I love that. That's like he's such a good leader. I hope he gets
Yeah.
his captaincy back somehow,
Oh, no, he's
because
gonna get it back, I
I
think.
think he's just, like, lost his way a little, but he's actually a pretty solid leader, and he just needs, like, I think he needs to be among the Discovery crew. Like, in season 3, they were mentioning how the Discovery crew seems to be, like, from this golden era of optimism, and they just like, they haven't been war-torn and battered the way that the people of the 32nd century have, and you really see this, illustrated beautifully again here with Rayner, the difference between Rayner and the crew of the Discovery and like how they clash. It makes me sad that the rest of the fleet is probably a lot like Rayner, like in some way or another. They're all a little like kind of tired and jaded,
Jaded.
and yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, and it's
I
cool that, like, just being around people like oh, sorry, I knocked my mic here, but just being around people who are not in that mode can, like, transform you and, like, change you, and you can see that change happening here. I take back my suspicious remarks from earlier. I think I'm just, like, reading too much into that scene. I think Rainer's legit.
yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit in the comments that you said that Discovery hasn't really been through the ringer a little bit, because I do think that Discovery's been through some shit. But but when it comes to how they handle the shit that they've been through and how they're able to still maintain a positive outlook after they've been through some of the worst stuff, some of the worst things
Well,
that can happen
that we're
to
saying the same thing, though. I agree with
right.
that. Like,
Oh, okay,
sorry,
okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Then
carry
I'm
on.
then I misunderstood because um
It
one thing
is.
that
It's
I've
how they handle these
right.
situations, right? Yeah,
Right. Right. Well, he said it right there, folks. One thing that I've
yeah.
always been really impressed with is the way that Discovery has gotten the crap kicked out of them, and they're still able to maintain this positive outlook, and they can still maintain this joy about space exploration that the rest
Yeah.
of the fleet doesn't have. And Rayner, like Sohail said here, is a embodiment of how the fleet possibly feels at this point in time. Um, but I do like that this scene shows that Rayner is capable of giving a fellow crew member support when they need it. And this also shows that he's not a raving asshole.
No, it's true. I, put together this, we have, Arium, of
That's a good one.
course, uh, and, like, I love that they recreated all the looks of season 1,
How did
Discovery.
how did they do this? Because I love Mary Wiseman, but Mary Wiseman does not look like she does uh
I think it's
uh
just, like, hairstyle,
hairstyle,
the uniform hairstyle, the uniform, and, like, a little bit of computer
graphics.
manipulation, or maybe even makeup and lighting. You could do all this stuff, like, but it is impressive. The hairstyles is what impresses me the most. Like, Owo's hairstyle is totally different now than it
Yeah.
was, and so is I think Detmer's hair is longer. I guess you could
Yeah.
fake that with a wig, but
Wig, yeah.
yeah, I don't know, and then
And
Tilly's hair
and
is different too. Tilly's hair is
yeah.
fuller, so yeah, it is pretty impressive that they were do that, and then, of course, they brought Bryce back, which is cool too.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
we haven't seen Bryce in a long time in a
Had a
while, so
long time, yeah.
yeah, not a long time,
No,
but in a
but
while.
yeah, no, but I'm no, but no, but I would be I mean, I cannot wait to watch the Ready Room to see how they
Yeah,
possibly done,
if they
or
explain it,
how
yeah, it'd be cool
they
to
possibly
see.
put all this stuff off, because I mentioned on Father Street, not to make this a big giant commercial for his great YouTube channel, but um, someone on
Oh,
there, I
we're
can't
all we're
remember.
all one happy fleet. You can mention
Yeah,
Fathery as much as you want, and the
so,
salon, shout out to the
yeah,
salon too.
someone on that lovely discussion that I had earlier tonight with some great Star Trek folks mentioned that they probably did some maybe some face replacement on some of the actors here to make them look the way that they did when this episode was actually shot. So that's possible, maybe.
Yeah, it makes sense. Either way, it's really done well.
Yeah,
I
it's
have to go
really
back and
impressive.
watch season 1 to, like, really compare, but
I
really done
haven't seen
well.
season one in a long time.
Me neither, it's not my favorite season of
Oh
Discovery.
no, yeah, no, but you know what? But you know what? It has its charms because season one shows you how far the show's come.
Now, let me ask you something. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but, like, the way that Michael convinces the crew is pretty it's a pretty cool scene because she, like, is able to very specifically point out things about each and every one of them, like, when Oa's about to, like, come after her, she's like, "Oh, no, 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 wait. I don't want a repeat of that left hook that you gave me, like, a few months ago or whatever," and then, she talks to Detmer about that place where she goes to kind of, like, you know, re-energize. She talks to Tilly
Yeah,
about her fears. She talks to, Bryce about how he and his grandma used to listen to to radio signals or
subspace radio.
whatever.
Yeah,
Not subspace, but radio, actual radio
radio,
signals or whatever,
actual
yeah.
radio signals.
Which is a
Yeah.
really cool idea that you could warp because radio signals are traveling at a certain speed, so if you warp far enough, you can intercept a radio signal from Earth from, like, whatever era. It's like they're all out there. It's kinda like, do you remember the movie Contact?
Hmm.
That scene where, like, they zoom out from Earth and then all of a sudden it's just silence, like, you
Yep.
hear all these, like, old broadcasts and then it's silence. I just kinda imagine, like, you could warp out to a place where, certain radio signals arriving or whatever. It's kind of a cool thing to do. But,
Yeah.
then Burnham kind of appeals to says, like, when everyone's still kinda not believing her, she appeals to them by saying, "Arium will believe me because of this." And she mentions this whole thing about when Arium's gonna die, and everyone's, like, kind of freaking out or whatever, but then Arium, as you said earlier, like, confirms, like, and says, like, "Well, I would do that." But the thing is that I feel like all of them any of them would sacrifice if there was a no-win scenario, like, they would sacrifice themselves
You
for
know what?
any of the other crew, so
I
I don't know why that was so convincing, but I'm willing to buy it because I like the scene all the same.
I do
What
I I do believe that Discovery is full of ride or die folks. I that's not up for debate. But the one thing that is up for debate is I don't think Michael would put any of them in a situation where they would have to do that. I think Michael would put herself on the fire first before anybody.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
And I just I love the way that Michael kind of diffuse the situation by telling them little things about themselves to prove to them that she was actually Michael Burnham and not some alien spy. I
Right.
absolutely love that. My favorite thing though was what she said about Detmer, about what she of where she likes to go to a certain spot on the ship to unwind and relax.
Right, that was kinda
Um,
cool too, yeah.
and and that's
I
like,
also like that they used the same effects from season 1 for the warp. That was cool too that
oh
they
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
was like I mean, they
absolutely.
were probably just using footage from season 1, but it was
And
not
also
it was just kind of nostalgia kinda kicked in. I was like, "Oh,
also
yeah."
Also, the lighting is the same too. If you notice the the lighting bars on the floor here, and all the screens are the same from season one as well.
That's right. No, they did a
Yeah,
good job with the continuity. It was very good.
yeah, they did a great job with that.
Yeah. What about this scene finally where the "you do deserve to be here" scene, how Rainer actually talks Michael down from her position here.
This proves to me that Rainer, this is a scene that proved to me that Rainer is a guy on the side of good, and this proves to me that Rainer, when it comes down to it, will sacrifice will is that kind of a guy that will put himself in front of a bullet or will put himself in a difficult situation to talk to a crew member that is going through a hard time. Because a true asshole or a true dick wouldn't do this. He would be caught up in his own belief that he is God's gift to the universe. He wouldn't be brave enough to do this. And also this illustrates to me that he trusts Michael Burnham, because although he doesn't
Yeah.
know this version of Michael Burnham, somewhere in his subconscious he knew that even this Michael Burnham wasn't going to shoot him.
Yeah, it's true. Well, they do back down Reese and Michael in this scene, and they let them complete the mission, and
Right.
we get Rainer doing, kind of letting his hand age a little bit,
Mm.
and finally we're
Yeah, but
back.
yeah, but Cobra will fix that in like a GIF anyway. He'll probably do it. He'll probably put a
Yeah.
wand over it. Whee, you're done.
I like this scene when they got back to the future or to the present or whatever. Yeah, the present, because they were jumping around in the future and the past. So yeah, when they got back to the present, I like this scene a lot where Rainer kind of admits that Michael had a good point. I like that he says, "You give me more patience than I deserve." It was very sweet, and I like that also he does point out that he's maybe just as stubborn as she used to be. And then Michael's like, "Well, I'm still stubborn, just in a different
Yeah,
way." And I like
yeah,
that. I
no, no,
like that our
that
traits
may
can evolve, like we don't have to be stubborn, and we can yes, something about us, like there's things that about us that might not change, like how we're stubborn about things or whatever personality traits. But what can change is the way that we utilize those traits.
that made me laugh so hard. You want to know why? Because I
Why?
was like, Michael, sweetheart, I love you, but you, the younger version of you, the mutineer version of you, you are impossible, sweetheart. You made me go insane. So, so the fact
Yeah, I
that you
remember
said,
you're quite triggered by Michael. You always
yeah,
was she one of the ones you always wanted to throw in the brig? By the way, I didn't
no,
hear
no,
you
of
say.
course
By
not.
the way, I'm a little upset that I didn't hear you say you wanted to throw Rainer in the brig. This yet. I think it's a little double standard there, Marcelo.
Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, no, 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 no. Well, okay, 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 okay. I will.
You do want to
I
throw Rainer in
no,
the brig. You
no,
did want to throw Rainer.
no. I will give you this. If Michael, after having that conversation with Rainer in her red room, if Michael felt that Rainer needed some discipline, I wouldn't have said no to throwing him in the brig. Or, or that's a bit dramatic. I would have said, I wouldn't have said no to her to Michael, confining him to quarters for a bit, to give him a pause and to let him calm down a little bit.
Well, it didn't
But
come to that because Rainer's a
yeah, it
quick
didn't come to.
study, I guess.
But yes, but you're not wrong. I do have a double standard when it comes to that, and I do expect more of both versions of Michael Burnham.
Yeah.
So to to me, it was very, very funny that Michael said something to the effect of, "Oh, I used to be where you are." And I was like, "No shit, sweetheart. You used to be 100 times worse than he was." Because
I love
because because you like old you did exactly what you wanted, and you didn't listen to anybody.
it's that's true. Michael was pretty stubborn. I love the ending of this episode because it reminded me so much of kind of the vibe that you get a lot in the original series, Star Trek the original series, where they're having a good laugh about the mission on the bridge, and that's totally
Mhm.
the vibe that we got here. And like
Yeah.
I love the whole like I captain and all that stuff. And especially, this season's looking like it's going to be really intense. So having this moment where Michael's just kind of like enjoying who she's become, like what her life has been, the journey that's gotten her to this point, like just really relishing in the fact that she is captain of the USS Discovery, Captain Michael Burnham, awesomeness, saving the Federation, saving all, sentient life in the galaxy. She's just like an awesome captain, and I can see why so many people love this character and why, I one of the things I've always said is like I think Michael should have been captain from the start, but I retract that statement wholeheartedly because if we didn't have and this episode just kind of reminds you, if we didn't have all of the things that Michael went through and like the strife and like the wrong decisions, the mutiny and stuff like
The
that,
pain.
this the pain, if you will. Yes, as Kirk says, I need my pain.
I need
So
my
we
pain.
I need my pain. So, like, if we didn't have all of that, this moment would not be as satisfying as it is. And it's so satisfying. It's such a satisfying moment. I loved this moment. I love this for this character. And it just makes me feel more like sad that this is the final season of Discovery. But I am
Yeah,
excited at the possibility of, either direct to streaming movies
a
or
movie. Come
even
on.
maybe a theatrical movie. Who knows?
Yeah, look, this scene gave me like the end of Far Point Part 2 vibes. Like this scene gave
Yeah.
me flashbacks of Picard sitting there in the chair and saying, um, let's see what's out there, you know?
Yeah.
It,
Very
it
nice.
it it's just a wonderful scene. It's a wonderful way to end a really cool episode. And look, there has been no bigger supporter of the Discovery crew branching off into streaming movies more than me. So I would love that. I would absolutely love that because that would harken back to the Berman era of Star Trek. And as you guys know, I love the Berman era of Star Trek.
Yes. But this Kurtzman era fuel is not so bad. It's a pretty good
Yeah,
era.
yeah, yeah. It's a pretty good era. But one thing I will say is that I think that this is going when it's all said and done on the Kurtzman era, I think it's going to be one of the most talked about eras because of
Oh
its ups
yeah.
and downs
It's I
with
call it the
folks.
Latinum age of Star Trek. I truly believe that. We're in probably like this era has taken Star Trek to a level that I don't think it's ever been. And I think we'll find more and more about that as time goes
Yeah,
on, but because we're kind of living in it right now, we don't know all the exact numbers and things like that.
yeah,
But
we don't.
it's true. I really think this is a great
I,
time in Star Trek. It's a really cool
yeah,
time to be.
yeah. Also, I think it's going to be the most divisive at the end of the day. But
I think it's
what do I know?
divisive in the moment, but I think later on people are just gonna chill out. I
Right. That's
think,
right. That's right. That's right.
like I think later folks will just chill out. Maybe
That's
folks
right.
who were on the fence now that the show's gonna be complete will give it a
Uh-huh.
chance and watch it. There's a lot of people who don't like the anxiety of like not knowing what happens and stuff. So who
Don't
knows?
like drama. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I just appreciated this episode a lot. I think it's one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek Discovery. I guess we can go right into our closing thoughts. Like we talked a whole lot about this episode, so I don't have much to say in terms of closing thoughts, except to say that, like, again, just to reiterate that I'm kind of sad that Disco is ending because I feel like they've just gotten to their stride. They've gotten to their stride. The season 5 is like previous in the Berman era, as you pointed out. I'll just call it the TNG era. I don't like to name them after showrunners. I call this the Disco era. I call the
The
previous era the
disco.
TNG era, and the previous era before that was the TOS era.
Did
But
you ever
anyways,
I'm
Huh?
sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting you there, Cap. The other way that I describe the era, I go 90s Trek. So it's either
Oh, yeah, it's a
90s,
great way to do it. Yeah,
yeah,
there's, like, 60s
90s,
track, 90s
yeah,
track. There's
90s Trek,
60s, there's
60s Trek.
80s, 90s. Yeah, there's a whole you
Yeah,
could slice up Star Trek eras any way you want.
any way you
It's
like.
all
Yeah,
good any way you like.
yeah.
But yeah, I just think that, like, for me, this was a really great episode. I think it's one that I've already watched it, like, 3 or 4 times, Marcella, I don't
Of
get
course
tired
you
of it.
have.
It's such a it's such a good episode. I'm gonna give this episode a solid 10, maybe even an 11. I think I might even give it an 11. What about
And
you?
I'm gonna give it a solid 8. There
Nice,
there
that's high, that's
there
good for you, yeah.
yeah, there are things that I would have loved to seen, and maybe I would have done things a little bit differently here and there, but nothing as egregious to bring down my score.
Right on. Well, Marcelo, we're a little past the normal time. We like to keep these episodes within an hour, but it's been so much fun just talking with you. And thanks for recording this episode with me. Like, even though we couldn't do it live, audience, thank you for joining us or watching the replay. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you weren't talking about it in the live chat, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you made it this far and you're still listening, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. We'd love to have you on board, so to speak. Marcelo, what do you have to tell folks about this week that you're doing?
Yeah, well, maybe on Friday I've been recording some new watch alongs for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so maybe if I can work a couple things around, the season 2 watch alongs will start this Friday. And if that is indeed the case, they'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go over to my channel, Balloon Head Productions, to see that stuff and a bunch of other stuff on there as well. But also, if you want to talk to me about anything having to do with Star Trek or any pop culture, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm on X at Creek Fanatic 88.
Most excellent. Well, Marcelo, looking forward to next week, your birthday week, and
Yeah.
I'm so excited that
I'm
we're
getting
gonna be
old, man.
recording that episode, by the way, because Marcelo wants to celebrate his birthday, rightly so. So that'll be another pre-recorded episode. Sorry, we can't be live, but I think we have fun anyhow. Anyways, Marcelo, live long and prosper, and audience, live long and prosper, and we will see you next time. Oh, let me do. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I can